Hi guys, welcome back to Forgetful Scholar, and this week we're going to chat about books. One book, just the just the one, and yes, this is the book I've been working on since last week. I guess, alright, if I'm going to be a little, maybe too honest, the last couple of weeks I've been feeling a little bit malaise, I guess would be the word. Not quite sad, not just kind of and that happens when you live with a chronic illness. It's just part of the course. I know it'll pass, but being a mood reader, it kind of made it harder to finish this book in a series that I've really been enjoying, and I really liked this book. I think if I was my normal, well, how I normally am, my normal self, I think I would have freaking loved this book. So I'm keeping that in mind when I'm giving the star rating. And this week is The Gate of the Feral Gods, Dungeon Crawler Carl, Book 4 by Matt Dinniman. It's published 2021 and 586 pages, and it's a 4 stars. I did enjoy myself. I felt like if I was a little bit more with it, I would have loved it. So this is a continuation, obviously, and the Dungeon Crawler Carl series is basically the world has ended and some humans went into the dungeon, and when they entered the dungeon, they became part of this game that is created, crafted, and run by these alien corporations. It's very dystopian, very corporate, dystopian, capitalism, dystopia. And Carl and his then pet, now like BFF, Princess Donut, went into the dungeon. And it is hilarious and horrifying. And the trend continued on in this book. So I believe they're on the 5th floor in this book. And this stage was a little bit more, because like the past book, I think book 3, the whole tunnel system was a little complicated. Like, it took me a couple of reads to understand what was going on. This one was a lot more simpler for me. So basically they described it like a sheet of bubble wrap, and each quadrant is a bubble, and in those bubbles there's like water, or like, elemental castles or thrones that the crawlers in that bubble have to work together to sit on the throne or capture the throne. And then when all of those are captured, the bubble bursts and you could go to the next level. This was very complicated because, Carl doesn't know all of the other crawlers, right? So it was a bit complicated. We get introduced to a lot of new characters, and a lot of people in this book. Like the last book, I believe, one character, Brandon, and I was so sad. So there is the Grove Park. Well, there was this elderly community, assisted living facility. There was a big group of them of those crawlers that entered into the dungeon in the first book, and Carl and Donut stopped to help them, and they've been friendly and kept in touch ever since. And Brandon was part of, I think he and his brother Chris were there to fix like the boiler. And Brandon died in the last book, and he, asked Carl to give his like last words to his brother Chris. And Chris has been acting very unlike himself. And this book, you get why. And holy moly, did I not see that coming. Woof! That was such a good twist. That is a thing I really, really appreciate about this author. I never see the twist coming. I would never think of like, that's what's happening. Ooh. And what I like about this series as well, the bad guys or the other crawlers that conflict with Carl, there's so much more to them, right? They're not just a blanket violent sociopath, right? There's reasons for what they're doing, and usually you find that out after the confrontation or being defeated by Carl or whatever, and you kind of find out why they are the way they are in the dungeon, and it always makes sense, right? So if you've seen my other reviews on this, Maggie May is one of the other crawlers that conflicts with Carl that like, ooh, I just you know, from the beginning, I was like, I hope she gets a horribly painful death, you know? And I was vindicated in this one. I was very happy with a little bit of spoiler, but the end of Maggie May's arc, I guess. I was like, ooh, that's like the worst way to, ooh, I'm so happy that happened to her. And like, I liked hating her, you know, and I still understood why she did the things she did eventually, because, you know, it does explain it throughout the story. But like, man, was my bloodthirst happy with what happened with her. They're in basically a desert biome, and there's a huge catacombs underneath it, and they get like sucked into another quest. And if you read the second and third book, you know, like they should try not to get sucked into the quest, because the quest on this is because this is live streamed right across the galaxy, so the quests are sort of like scripted shows that interweave with the live action of the dungeon crawlers. And sometimes for no reason, the crawlers get sucked in and killed in these things for the show, you know, for the show. And it's not like actors how we think of it. The NPCs are basically their minds wiped, and they're inputted with what the dungeon or the story writers want them to think they are. So the NPCs think this is real, this is their life, right? It's pretty horrible. The farther the book series goes, the more horrifying everything is. And I'm like, wow, I thought it was pretty horrifying before, but yeah, no, it's getting worse, which is, you know, good writing. Like, you know, there is one part, you know, like I said, I never know where the author is going with it. And like, there was an underwater fight, a couple of them. The last one where the city boss, I believe it was the city boss. The description's funny and horrifying, because like, giant squid, scary. Giant shark, scary. Well, even like a normal size shark, scary. Put it together, octo shark, terrifying, you know. And Carl met up with a lot of new interesting characters. One, they got a new sort of companion that might, because I've mentioned this book series to a couple friends of mine. I'm like, oh, you guys like fantasy, you guys might like this because we play D&D, this might be your jam. The sense of humor, I think you'll get it, you know. And they have far outpaced me. Like, both of them are like done with the series, and this is just book 5 for me. Yeah, book 4 for me. So like, that is really funny. But one of them was like, oh, my favorite companion's coming up, and I was like, okay. And Samantha, and so far this is her introduction, and funny, hilarious about the whole thing that she is and how she comes to them. And I mean, I think I could say this because the indie cover art depicts Carl holding Samantha, basically a talking head, and it is very funny. Like, I kind of was waiting for her to show up because I saw because Kindle, so I saw the indie cover art, not the new cover art. So I was kind of waiting for that character to show up, and I was wondering, you know, how that's going to happen. In my wildest dreams, I would not have guessed how Samantha comes to be a part of their group. Like, what? And also hilarious. And I don't want to give too much away. I know I'm not saying much, but I want you guys to experience it because it is fun, okay? And even the description of the Mad Mage, I was like, this is... the humor, I just get it. I know humor's subjective, but this is my type of humor. I'm enjoying the series, right? Of course, the underwater fights are really hard on Princess Donut because she is like a cat with a human brain is the best way I can describe it. So she hates water, and that's pretty adorable. I think Katya, she is a companion that showed up, I think, 2 books ago. Oh, yeah, she really shined in this, and I felt like she became stopped being in the background and really became a full-fledged character, and apparently a person as well in her own right. So I really enjoyed that. The cookbook that Carl's getting with like little cheat codes from past crawlers, I love that thing. That thing has such interesting storytelling properties. And like the thing is that this book, there's so much lore. There is like the fake implanted lore of the AI who is apparently losing his shit. Like he's going crazy. The AI is going crazy apparently sooner than they normally do. And he really has a thing for Carl. A fetish. Like there was one point that had me laughing, which I really needed these last 2 weeks, but had me laughing. It's horrifying, but it made me laugh. So I guess I'm a horrible person. I can live with that. Anyway, Carl hasn't smashed anything with his feet in a while, and that's what the AI really likes. So to force his hand, the AI just started pouring in thousands and thousands of these like violent little gerbil type creatures that are like piranhas but in dry land, if that makes sense, until Carl finally smashed one with his foot. Like everything he went through and that makes him feel dirty. I'm like, okay. And Carl is still deep down a good person. Like he's trying to help the other crawlers. In this book he gets a little bloodthirsty. Like he doesn't want the system to break him, and I hope it doesn't. But there's certainly cracks showing, right? This is the 4th book. They're on the 5th level. And at one point, Carl gets so angry. And I understand where he's coming from because I was really angry too. This other crawler, Quan, is kind of flying around and sniping kills and getting these points for these fights that he doesn't really participate in. And he's getting all the points. And he's kind of, definitely the last book with the tunnel system, he put thousands of earthlings, other crawlers, in danger, like stranded them. And Carl and his group were the ones to try to get everybody out, right? So Quan is really flying around not caring about anybody else but himself. And like Carl said, he's a bully. And at one point they have a huge confrontation, a huge fight. And again, Carl hasn't killed another crawler because when you kill another crawler, you get a skull above your head. And if you kill another party member, it's like a golden skull. And Carl really doesn't want to do that. But I'm thinking it's probably going to happen eventually. Like it just seems like one of those things in stories, you know, it seems like a huge story plot point that's going to happen anyway. But who knows? Again, I can't predict where this author's going, so what do I know? Who knows? Woo-hoo, it's fun. Anyway, they get into this huge fight, and at one point, you know, Carl has a hold of the guy's arm, and the guy's trying to flee, and like Carl basically rips his arm off. So like I said, he's not breaking, but there's definitely cracks. There's definitely cracks in his psyche because he wasn't that vicious or violent when he first went into the dungeon, right? And it makes sense. This is the 5th level. He's fighting to survive, but it still destroys him when he sees how many crawlers die each day, you know, and he's still trying to help everybody get out. Like even in this level when everyone is so separated, he still figured out a way to get as many crawlers as he can to the next level, to the next dungeon, right? So he is being very helpful. Even when he comes across 2 stoners that are basically given up, he kind of forces them, or like, I won't say force, but like pushes them to train, to level, to help people, to think of this, to actually go for it, to actually, you know, be a part of this and try to survive, not just, you know, drink until the end. And I get it. And also, like, I also would respect them if they really just wanted to, like, that's it. They're not going to the next level. They'll happily just disappear with the dungeon. But there's been hints for a while now that if you die in the dungeon, doesn't mean it's done. Not that, like, resurrected, like, you get a video game, you could start over. No, but, like, you might become an NPC, you know? So that is, like, it's been hinted at, you know? And unfortunately, I read a sneak peek in the next book. I hate doing that. I normally don't do that. But like I was finishing this book pretty late the other night. And I think I thought it was the epilogue, which obviously it wasn't. And I keep thinking about that sneak peek in the next book. And I was like, dang it, this is why I don't do that, right? Because my brain latches onto the storyline that's not finished, right? But it seems like those that didn't enter the dungeon didn't automatically die. So it's very interesting. I'm gonna look forward to reading that. But Carl is starting to crack a little bit, and he did something pretty amazing. So, and this is one of the parts in the book that like, I kind of like put it down. I was like, oh, this is such a fun series, right? So during the crawl, him and Donut get kind of teleported out and put into talk shows. Because again, this is, you know, reality TV for most of the universe, which is so disgusting. But anyway, and he, because of the clues he gets from past crawlers that are in the cookbook, he sets it up where his PR manager, Zez, because Zez was their friend, and then she got taken away. She's like a fish person, part of the Bloom, part of the corporation that's running this game. She got taken away, and like her family got tortured. She got programmed before they would let her come back. But the person that took over her space, horrible racist, right? Like really horrible person, fish person. So Carl kind of sets it up to kill her when he's out of the dungeon, and he does it, and he gives himself a really good alibi. So the Jersey girl in me is like, oh good, you have an alibi, solid alibi, I love it. To the point where he gets questioned by a syndicate investigator, which their manager Moriarty is like freaked out about. But Carl kept his cool. He didn't admit anything. And when the investigator was basically detailing how Carl did this and all this intricate like MacGyver kind of stuff to make this bomb. And the bomb was a toy of Donut that this corporation, like merch of Princess Donut, animatronic toy that kept getting eaten by Mongo. I love Mongo. So they made one that's like really indestructible and actually explodes to stop Mongo from destroying the prototypes, right? It's not supposed to explode with real kids in the universe, but anyway, it does in the dungeon. So the syndicate investigator did this detailed thing of what Carl did to make the robot donut explode to kill the fish person, right? I don't even remember her name, just that Lota, I think. And I was like, damn, Carl, that's really impressive. And the next paragraph is like, yeah, internally, Carl's like, yeah, I didn't do any of that. Like Carl does purposely set out to kill Lota. And it's a huge accomplishment, right? For him, and like, you're with him, and Lota is written so horribly that there's no sympathy there. You know, you're just like, yeah, good for you, right? But it was so funny. I was like, dang, Carl, oh, okay. And then Carl's like, nah, I didn't do any of that. I did this and that. But then the rest was just luck. Oopsie, happy accident. Of course he's not saying this. We're in his POV, so we're getting this, right? And that had me like chortling, chuckling, giggling to myself. I know, I'm a horrible person. What can I say? But, but it's just like, that's the charm of this book, right? It's the charm of it. And I don't know, when you're reading it, you're really, first you don't know what's happening, and then when you realize Carl killed Lota, you're like, yeah, get him, you know, because there's such horrible, like, what's happening is horrible. Like, usually I'm the first person that's like sympathy for the bad guy. None, you know? So like I said, Carl is showing cracks, because I don't think Carl before the dungeon would have set up an intricate way to bomb somebody, you know what I mean? So it's really interesting. And in this book, there's so much, like I said, there's so much lore. There's like the AI in-game lore that's not real. It's fun, it's interesting. There's a lot of you know, mentions of different fandoms. I think Inuyasha was thrown around in this book, which I thought was funny, because who didn't grow up on Inuyasha? And things like that. But then there's lore outside of it that I'm like devouring, you know, because there's more to it than just like, you know, this syndicate's fighting with this syndicate. There's a lawsuit that Carl and the AI win. So it feels like the AI is like sort of kind of more on Carl's side, because they're like, we're in this lawsuit together. It's interesting because the AI is considered a protective person, which drives Carl and me nuts, that they don't care about killing billions of people, but an AI they save, you know what I mean? The AI is considered, because like I thought after the dungeon is done, like the AI gets wiped and they reuse it, but apparently no, that's not allowed, because AI life is more important than billions of people. Anyway, and then the epilogue I really enjoyed. At first I thought the epilogue and the sneak peek of the first next book were the same thing, and I was annoyed because you guys know I don't like long epilogues, but no, the epilogue was short, sweet, and I was like, oh, ooh. And like, because Carl's sponsor, I'm gonna let you guys discover that for yourselves, but it is wonderful to realize that Carl's actually getting support outside of the dungeon too, you know what I mean? And Carl has his mission. He's gonna burn it to the ground, and I am rooting him on. I am rooting him on. We get some lore about the primal race, which is the race Carl picked, so that was fun. Just a lot of lore happening. I will say it was sad because a lot of the secondary characters that we meet in this book, right, a lot of them die, and I felt so bad. And you're supposed to. When I finished that part, I was like, oh man, I'm so sad. That's good writing. That's good writing, because like, he wanted me to be sad. I'm sad. You got me. I'm sad. And they're imaginary people. It made me sad about imaginary people. Touche. You know, so... Okay, I'm gonna go. I had so much fun reading this book. 4 stars. I'm gonna continue the series. Hopefully I get out of this funk, so it won't take me 2 weeks to read one book. Anyway, I don't want too much time for me to get back to the real world. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.